Republicans clearly misjudged the power of abortion rights because as much as there should have been a red tsunami crashing through the Senate and House of Representatives, with the Republicans wrestling back control, it wasn't the carnage or the bloodbath pundits or political pollsters had predicted. In fact, it was the opposite. And what eventuated was at most a gentle washing of a red surf without the anticipated devastation. The Republicans' assault on reclaiming power was, by the expectation of what it sought to achieve, a failure. Now, if American history was rewritten in terms of Custer's last stand, then Custer had just defended the Alamo and the Indians had failed to capture it. And the Republicans failed to have the decisive victory it needed to take the Alamo. So how did pollsters, political commentators, and the pundits get it so wrong? And what actually happened? Well, to explain it requires no deep examination. We need look no further than what it means to be a woman and a woman's right to have control over her own body without political interference. Now, we can forget about whether women are conservatives or Democrats or adhering to party political lines, because tying party allegiances played no part. The power of the female vote and the right to self-determination superseded everything else. Women stood firm and united on one single issue, and that was the issue of abortion rights. It wasn't inflation, cost of living, the economy, unemployment or crime, or even the lies and distrust of America's political elite. It was a woman's right to have control over her own body. It's an issue Republicans failed to factor in, and what self-determination means in such a highly sensitive and emotionally charged issue. Republican strategists failed to acknowledge the importance of Roe v. Wade and what that decision meant to women. To women, it meant everything. It was the hill they would stand on to fight and defend, and the pinnacle that determined the fate of the Republicans. So, along with weak candidates and the lack of an economic plan, fears of post-Roe rollback in reproductive rights were behind the party's underwhelming election result. However, the abortion issue, while a major factor, wasn't the sole driver of Democrats' strong turnout in Tuesday's midterm election. Weak Republican candidates and their lack of any specific economic plan other than not being Joe Biden also deserve some of the blame. It does seem clear that fears of a post-Roe rollback in reproductive rights were understandably the decisive factor, and according to early exit polls, abortion was Democratic voters' top concern. And for Republicans, 36% of voters said abortion was their top issue, compared with 29% saying that it was inflation. And in Michigan, where voters just amended their state's constitution to protect abortion rights, and where it went for Donald Trump in 2016, well, the voters on Tuesday returned Democrats to power in the state legislature. And in Montana and even comfortably red Kentucky, voters rejected ballot measures that would have restricted reproductive rights. Abortion also succeeded on ballots in blue stalwarts like California and Vermont. Abortion isn't readily analogous to other political topics, not to gun laws, vaccines, COVID, or anything else. Understandably, abortion and self-determination for a woman to have control over her reproductive rights is in a league of its own. It's a deeply personal question on which many American women have already made their minds up on. Given roughly 1 in 3 women have had an abortion, it's an issue many people have personal experience, either firsthand or through a friend or relative. Inflation may be a top concern, but even economists don't agree on how to solve it. And crime is a problem everyone deplores, but for which solutions aren't simple. However, abortion is straightforward and relatable. Professional political pundits forget Roe itself was actually a compromise because it allowed some restrictions on abortion, particularly after the first trimester, and reaffirmed by the Supreme Court in 1992, the Casey decision, which allowed many first trimester restrictions on abortion as long as they didn't cause an undue burden. Now, that's a judgment call, always in the eye of the beholder. Abortion isn't a magic word for Democrats. The question now for Democrats is how they play this in 2024. And Republicans also need to reckon with the shifting landscape. Going into the next election cycle, politicians and pundits from both parties should remember Americans support legal abortion, especially through the first trimester. There are some who think abortion should be a crime. For many, losing Roe has changed how such metaphors land. But it remains, rightfully, women have the right to self-determination and to choose what they do with their bodies.